Button pops up.
Yeah,
There we are. We are
fancy.
live. Yay. So, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Just depends on if you're watching us live or you're watching the replay. Welcome to Lyonsview Realty Financial Fridays. My name is Clara Lyons-DeVaughn, and I am the broker owner of Lyonsview Realty. We provide residential, commercial for small businesses and nonprofits, and property management services. We also have Lions View Lifestyle Academy, which does real estate pre-licensing services and continuing education, credit counseling and distressed homeowner solutions, and lifestyle health and wellness education. So I just want to welcome you here today. Lions View Realty, we launch Financial Fridays to really help you stay current on those trends that impact your bottom line. And our goal is to provide you with resources, information, and tips to assist you in making the best financial decisions. So, our commitment really is to maximize your wealth building power now and in the future. So, I just so glad you tuned in today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to like and share this video. And remember that our guests are here as a resource to you. So if you have questions, just drop them in the comment section and we will get to them. I'm excited because I have known this young lady. She's my soror.
Woohoo!
Yes, and your screen is actually frozen on my end, so I hope
I
I
know
I can hear you fine though.
it's frozen on my end too. Let me try to fix that.
Okay, so I have known her, and we got reconnected through another sorority sister, Miss Cynthia Mackey. Shout out to Cynthia.
Hey,
And today we're going to be chatting a little bit about investment because I have a lot of folks who say they want to be investors. They are wannabe investors.
right, right.
Yeah, and Miss Lisha has done the doggone thing.
I
She's
tried.
she's doing some phenomenal things and has agreed just to share, a little something something with each of you about how you could possibly get started if you have an interest in that area. So welcome, Miss Lisha.
Thank
Um,
you for having me.
yeah, your screen is still frozen, but your audio is perfect. So
Okay. I don't know if you want me to refresh or we
yeah,
just go with it.
refresh one more time,
Okay.
and then yeah, so as Alicia's getting her audio together, I just want to welcome you again. Thank you for watching today. We're really, really excited because let me bring her back in. Here we go.
Okay. There we go.
Yes. And I'm really excited because she's on California time. So it's Gato 30
Morning.
where she is. Good morning. Good morning. Indeed. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Lisha Bell. I'm originally from LA. And I know this wonderful woman because we went to the same school, University of Southern California. So I studied, hey, fight on.
The Trojans.
I studied business information systems, and I spent my career in technology, particularly payments technology, so money movement. I lead a product called Venmo, which you may have heard of. It's a very popular P2P app. And over time, I've got into the investing world in many ways. So I live in Oakland, California. I've purchased 3 homes here. And I've also got into angel investing as part of my journey of expanding my investment portfolio. And so I'm just really excited to share my experience in my world and be a resource for anybody who is interested in that.
Awesome. Awesome. So what got you interested in investing in real estate specifically?
Yeah, I had the home ownership dream of, as many people do. I was 24. I was a few years into my first corporate job, and I was very fortunate to work at a bank. So my friends and coworkers were mortgage people, had access to the realtors, and I just leaned on my network at work to help me get a home because I really was clueless. I didn't know what to do. Like I just really entrusted them to lead me along this journey. They hooked me up with like a no money down program, first time home buyers program. I took advantage of that.
Nice.
You know, and I knew like, so I came out during the dot-com boom in tech, and housing is very expensive in the Bay Area.
It
And
is.
essentially I was paying at that time $1,600 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I only made $50,000. So I have my whole first paycheck was going to rent. And I realized I could purchase a home and have a cheaper note and have equity and all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, who am I fooling? Let me get out this game. And so I bought a condo in East Oakland. That was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Wow. So you moved up in bedrooms, you moved
I
up in
did
equity, you moved up in net worth, like,
all that.
yes. And people don't realize that home ownership is like the number one wealth building tool, owning property. I won't even call it home ownership, owning property, because whether
Right.
you own it or not, it's yours. And, it's a wealth property, real estate, dirt, land.
Right. Something.
It's a great investment. So, and you also realize that you're paying less
Right.
with the write-off.
With the write-off. I was single, no kids. I needed a write-off.
So life has changed a little bit since then.
Yeah.
So how did you ease into the investment realm after that first property?
Yeah. So after the first property, I kind of made a random decision that I wanted to move closer to San Francisco. And so I wanted a loft. Like I was focused on having a loft to be my bachelorette pad.
Nice.
And I bought a property in West Oakland. And West Oakland's historic part of Oakland for Black people, and redlining and Cyprus earthquake. Like so many historical movements have happened in Black Panthers in Oakland, but West Oakland's pretty dilapidated. So has not been taken care of in a long time, has no grocery stores, gas stations, but it has a BART station, has our transportation here, and is 7 minutes from San Francisco.
Great.
And so I bought a place. It was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath for $350,000. And I kept my first place and rented it out to my brother, which is a whole nother conversation about renting out the family. Don't do it. But he was my first tenant, and he brought in his friend, and that allowed them to cover that note over there, so I could move into my loft. So that was my first investment.
Wow.
Became my first investment property when I moved out.
Wow. And then the transition too. So if you're paying less money, number one, you have someone to cover the note of the other property, and how did you leverage from one property to the next? Like what was that?
Yeah, so I would say I would know I got an FHA loan on this property, so that was helpful. And because my mortgage on my first property was only about $1,200, their rent was about $1,600. So it covered the expenses of rent, and the HOA fees were about $200. And so this was about that in 2010, so 6 years after my first property. So during that time, I was able to double my income.
Wow.
And that kind of helped the affordability of me carrying this note. And if I had to, I could carry both notes on my own, which is always a risk, right?
And it's important too, because sometimes, things happen with your tenants. So you need either savings.
Yes. And we'll have to talk about that too in this conversation, because I got very colorful stories on tenants. Yeah, I got lots of stories. So essentially, because it was like 6 years, I had more time. I had time to make more money for my income, and so I was able to put some money on down payment too. So that was actually nice to have some saved funds going into that property.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take you between the two properties, like
That
time-wise?
6 years.
6 years.
So 2004, I had the condo. 2010, I bought the loft.
Okay.
Then you want me to tell you about the next one I got?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is like, so in 2015, I discovered I was pregnant. And I was like, oh shoot. I can't live in West Point anymore because I couldn't imagine raising a child. And it was a really toxic environment. Like, I can't live in a place where there's no grocery store. Like, that was fine for my single days. There's still a lot of crime in West Oakland. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. So, and I was probably nesting because I started bidding on all kinds of homes in the Bay Area. I was like, this is my time to get a home. So I had 2 condos and I wanted to upgrade to a home. But as life would have it,
Single family,
a single family home. Yes.
not connected to anybody else for those young.
Not connected to any detached properties. So my baby could scream and nobody could hear her. And so what ended up happening is I put out 3 bids. And the first bid I actually got, which I was shocked because it's like Bay Area bidding, you just go in for war. And I backed out because I was scared. And I was like, this is a really expensive house. And like, I just got cold feet. And like the next week it sold for $100,000 more. And yeah, so I wanted, I was heartbroken.
Yeah, that's
cool. So then eventually I found a foreclosure that I had passed up on before. My realtor was like, have a vision, because it needed some work. And I was like, okay, I'm going to enter this foreclosure. So I don't know if we talked about the joys of foreclosed properties on this show, but it is quite a mess. Like, let me tell you. So in the midst of my foreclosure, my seller decided, and in the foreclosure, the seller has a really interesting amount of power. They decide who gets the house. And so she chose me, so I felt grateful, but she wasn't really ready to give me the house. So it turned into a lawsuit. What? So what I had to do was move back. I kicked out my tenants I had a different set of tenants. I kicked them out of my first place, moved back to that house, sold the second house to get in position to buy this house. But it took me 7 months. So I had the baby was here. Wow. But what I was able to do, and that's like leverage with real estate, is that I was able to go back to my first house. I decided to sell the second house because in West Oakland, the value had appreciated 2x in 2 years. So I took that money, I put that money as a down payment on my house. So I had I put 20% down. And eventually it was a foreclosure. So I got it for cheaper than market rate. So it was a win-win. Like during the time, that 7 months of a lawsuit and having a baby, I wouldn't have said that in the moment that it was a win. But eventually it did become a win. And so I moved into this house that I'm in now, and I went back to renting the apartment.
So now you're 2 up.
2 up, yes.
Yeah. So that actually is pretty interesting because foreclosures, like you said, sellers can have a personal attachment to the property and they don't want to go,
right?
In the time frame that you might want them to go if they're still in the property, or if it's like probably a short sale, because foreclosure, the bank would have taken it back already.
Short sale.
Yeah, you have to evict them. But for the short sale, it's a process. In fact, my phone just rang. I have a short sale under contract. That's what I was like, what's going on?
Gotta have lots of patience.
Yes, much patience for short sales. So there are different types. So if a property is straight up on the market, you can buy it straight out. The seller is ready to go, willing. A short sale basically is the lender is willing to take less than what's owed on the property, um, because the owner either is behind, they're under some sort of distress. They may have had a death
Right.
in the family, they may have disability, they have lost their job, a bunch of stuff. And now that we're in pandemic with people doing forbearances, um,
Mm,
that market is right around the corner again for some people. Some people, are getting back on their feet and are able
mhm.
to meet the terms of their forbearance, but there are going to be people who aren't. So those types of opportunities are going to be coming back around the bend, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
if the banks don't do people right,
Right.
yeah,
Right. I mean, I would just say like this is like a cash market. So I mean, people are like, why did you drop the second property? But I was in a cash position. So in the surprise of the short sale, I had to pay all the HOA liens. I had to pay all this. I had to cut down trees. I had to get in compliance. I had to do a sewer lateral. Like there's a lot of expenses. I had to pay lawyer fees. None of this I really planned on doing because I didn't know what I was getting into. But I mean, this is like the cash position. So I think sometimes you have to weigh out, you know, the the
the
risk and the cost.
Yeah, and you're still, I mean, you still are invested, in other properties. I'm finding now
Right.
too, investors who have multiple properties are cashing out. They're cashing out on some of their properties in order to do positions in other properties or just to help with living expenses. So having that ability, having that leverage, especially in California, is like you say, 2x,
Right.
x like 5x now. You know,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, five
Yeah.
x in some cases.
Yeah. I have a bad habit of stalking my old properties. So like the condo I bought for 350 is worth 750 today.
Yeah.
A one bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Crazy.
so
Crazy. And tell that to New Jersey people. New Jersey people, you can still get into a 3, 4 bedroom, 2.5 bathhouse, anywhere from 13 to 1,800 square feet for under 250,000. Not hurting.
what?
You need to
I need
invest.
to move.
You need to invest in New Jersey.
I
Yes,
do.
a lot more for your money, but you also have to deal with snow and cold weather. But they do pump your
Ooh,
gas, so that part is kind of cool. But I don't think people realize that different parts of the country are opportunities for investment where your money goes a lot further. And for people who are in certain places to realize the value that they have that, you don't get in other places. So
right, exactly.
if you would like think about different types of investing or different types of investors that there are out there, different ways that people can invest, how would you identify those types per se?
Um, I think there's like people who like are the flippers, like people who are opportunistic, who see a market, go in there, do the work and cash out in a pretty fast manner. I tend to be a buy and hold type person, and I'm an investor that does local, so I don't yet feel comfortable buying property that I can't drive by or see, or that's just my thing. But during COVID, I surely wish I had a vacation home somewhere else. So I probably regret that now. But for me, my comfort space was like I know this market so well. Um, I have access to so much here because I live here. So I'm like the buy and hold. I want to leave property to my child. I have future endeavors that I want to leverage my properties for, take out equity for, build my other businesses. So I just use them to keep in the wheelhouse. So I'm like a buy and hold investor. And then there's people who like, real estate trusts, like group investments, which is like another great way to get in without the total cost of doing it by yourself. And you kind of like just treat it as another investment portfolio. You put some money in, you watch the portfolio grow, and take out dividends or exit when appropriate. So I think there's many different types of investors and ways to play.
Mm-hmm. So for the real estate investment trust, how do people find those types of investments? Let's say they don't want to, they just want to put their money up, basically. That's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. There's a few sites now that's doing this. I'm trying to think of the names like CrowdRise, but there's real estate platforms that you can literally go to the website, commit some money, and like join. Like I think the barrier, it used to be really hard because they were private groups,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to like kind of network your way in with people who were doing that. But now there's like these apps that essentially a low barrier. Like you just say, I want to invest this much, put it into this. Of course, there's more sophisticated real estate trusts that are kind of tax beneficiaries, which you kind of need lawyers and CPAs to think about your strategies on how you do those trusts as well. But there's a lot of creative ways. I think now the entry is pretty low. You don't have to put a lot of money in, and you can just have an owner percentage. There's also the co-ops and people who have partial ownership of land grants. And, I'm just going to own 1%. 1% is good, so I would look at the co-ops, land shares, land grants, or like these apps where, you can just get a little piece.
Right. So it's a really good point because there's different ways. Mo Slay Holmes says, I would love to do the real estate trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's like, three ways that you talked about. One is to, buy and flip, where you buy it, you fix it up,
Yeah.
you flip it for the equity.
Mm-hmm.
The other is the buy and hold, which is what your strategy is to, build a wealth empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a portfolio holding where you keep it for the long term, rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things to do with property other than rent it when you're in that hold position?
Yeah. I mean, you can leverage it for equity and assets. So in my other job in venture, my house is part of my accredited investment portfolio. So essentially, to be an accredited investor, you need to have a net worth of over $1 million, and that includes investment properties. It's not your primary home that counts. And so as that property, my investment properties appreciate, it increases my accredited investor status and net worth. And so that's pretty much, like on the books, how I report that property. And also, I could take a HELOC from that property if I wanted to and
Home
leverage it. Yes,
credit.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of ways to be advantageous with your balance sheet and how you represent with your properties and your overall net worth portfolio.
Yeah. And I guess the third way was the REIT. So you talked about some of the advantages of the buy and hold. What are some of the advantages of the flip or the REITs? The
Yeah. I
trust?
mean, the advantages of like um, capitalizing on a market that's in distress are just huge. I mean, you can come in with cash and like get your return and like be profitable. Like that's the miracle of some of these markets. Not all markets perform in the same way.
Indeed.
So that's definitely a risk. So it might take you years to flip it. In the Bay, you can flip a home in months and
Yes.
make profit. Like that's how the market works. But you have to have that muscle. You got to have your crew of GCs, contractors. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know the city. You got to know how to move fast, right? So it takes a skill set to do that. And like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that by myself. I would need a team. And so a lot of people who do this have teams that they trust to help them execute. But, you can essentially buy a property, fix it up, do minimal work. I've seen people just paint, like, make it a little bit pretty and sell it, right? And get that gain. So like if you're able to do that, that's awesome. Real estate Trusts are, I would say they're more of a long-term play.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like a stock, like, you don't just get in and jump out.
Right.
No, you actually have to let your money saturate and mature over time.
Yeah.
Of course, depending on your portfolio. And you don't get the benefits of like the tax write-offs, and but you also don't have the liability of owning your own property. And so it's definitely advantageous for, there's still gains in that, and you still win from gains. And
Yeah.
so that's also advantageous.
Well, two things. So if someone wanted to get started in investing, what would you recommend that they need to some things that they might want to consider doing? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of philosophies. I would just say, share some good advice I've heard and learned along the way is that, one, you need a home to live in. So like your home base, it's like, where do you live? Do you have a place to live where you can be and sustain? And then I say, okay, what to do next? So there's like the concept of house hacking, which essentially you buy a multifamily unit, or you buy a house with multiple rooms and you live in there, or you live in one of the units and you have everybody else pay your mortgage. Like that's a great way. It's kind of becomes, it's your primary residence. So you get the benefits of a primary, you get the financing of a primary residence, but essentially it also becomes your investment property, because you are also become a landlord-tenant situation, and you're making money off of that, and you can expand. Eventually you can move out. I mean, that's the thing about house hacking. You do initial financing, then after a year people move out and they buy other properties, so that's a way to be advantageous in the market. Or you could just go in with a friend or someone, a group of people you trust. It doesn't even have to be a real estate investment trust. Like, I'm just going to buy this property with one or two people I trust, and we're going to go in and go with it. So I think there's a lot of ways creatively to get into that.
Indeed, indeed. And if someone were to put together a team, who are the players that should be on that team?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I got a real estate team. So that includes, a realtor, obviously someone who knows that market, who can see opportunities, who, can help you with that vision. I have a real estate attorney, because you never know when you're gonna need a lawyer to navigate things. I also have a general contractor who can go and do independent reviews, appraisals, like, how bad is this dry rot? Like those questions that I need some support in trying to figure out or assess how the quality of the deal. And then, you need your finance person. So you need that person who's going to structure the deal. And, what's the rates? What's the best? Should it be a 30-year, 15-year FHA? What type of programs can we do to make this happen? Whether I'm trying to like conserve my own money and use like an OPM, other people's money, leverage to help execute that. And then I also have a CPA who's always in front of my tax strategies. And, is this I have a trust, I have the state, I have a state, I have property in the state, I have, insurance, like how do I set it up? So you kind of need to have a group of advisors who position you well.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. I mean, and that's a great team across the board. So you're covering all the bases. And I think a lot of times people don't consider, how to structure it from a financial perspective, and then
Right.
how to keep their money. Also on the leveraging on the mortgage side, there are different types of lenders too. So
Right. Yeah. I used to go, I used to work for Wells Fargo. So they were my bank and everything. And then I realized all these little smaller independent firms that could do it faster, cheaper, so like.
yeah. There might be different lenders for different deals, depending
Exactly.
on
And
what you're doing and how fast you need to get the money and move the money. So
exactly, be open to that, because underwriting is a beast and it's different at every place you go. And, so, try one place, try a different place,
Yes, yes. So, so, well, the rewards are definitely, part of the rewards are that you're building equity, you're building wealth, you
Yeah.
know, that you're leaving a legacy for that'll be there for your daughter, and you're
Yes.
in a state. We had someone come on and talk about estate planning and
Right.
from the document side, if you were to be incapacitated or
Exactly.
what would happen to you, what would happen to your affairs. So that's really an important part of it. But there's also, you talked about estate from growing an investment portfolio perspective. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and asset protection. Like I can't talk enough about asset protection.
Yeah.
I've been in so many lawsuits. I've been sued by my tenants, so I have, like I said, I got all colorful stories. But you really do need to protect your assets because you're just putting yourself there is risk to being an investor and being a landlord, particularly in highly regulated rent-controlled cities.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is the
Oh,
asset
yeah.
protection and the insurance side, or is it on the structure of the entity side?
It's on the insurance side and in my estate. So my estate has protections. So like you can't sue me and take my house, essentially.
Yeah.
So like having that level of protection, because when you have a lot of properties, people are coming after you. Like there's a group of people that are advantageous and opportunistic, particularly in these type of rent controlled markets. There's a lot of advantages to what people can do.
Indeed, indeed, and I think having the team together helps you make the best decisions, overall
Yeah.
about how to move forward with your strategy. So, if you were to talk about like your short term and your long term strategy, like, what would
Yeah.
that look like? Mhm. If you, yeah,
Yeah. So um it's hard because I think all my strategies are long term. I don't believe in fast money, really.
that's
But
good.
short term is like having a house I can live in, right? Like, despite the market having that sanctuary and safety. But my long term goal is, I want to get back into the game. I want to buy more properties, particularly multi-family, multi-unit properties. It's what I'm looking at. Since COVID, I have reignited my vacation home situation. And so I picked the city. It's New Orleans. That's where I want my vacation
Awesome.
home to be. I have roots in Louisiana, and that feels good to me. And so I'll be looking at properties there in the future. But yeah, so you know, I want to build this portfolio. I want places that I can enjoy. That's part of my portfolio, places that I can enjoy, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my goal.
Okay. There's something that came to mind were timeshares as an investment, um, something I got involved in a long time ago. And there were different types of timeshares, but
Yeah.
uh, you have to look at how the timeshare is structured. But sometimes that's kind of a way of buying into an opportunity where you don't have the overall things. But if you can get one that you own at the end of the payment, you own that time, that's a good place to be as well, especially if you like to go to different places. Um,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
for
I'm gonna look into that.
as part of the investment tool strategy. Yeah. So is there a group that, you associate with, or, how do you feel about people joining groups, to learn about investment strategies and different things?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have found Facebook groups so resourceful. So I have a group called Real Estate Real Talk, and it's just us talking about what's going on and the struggles of like real estate. Um, it's particularly in the Bay Area because I mean it's a headache. It's a real struggle. But we just started a group of a small community And I would say 20% own properties, and now like 80% of people in that group own properties. So it is encouraging to like see people doing it in these
What's
tough
going
markets.
on?
So
There we are. We're back.
we're back. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also joined a group called like Black Lady Landlords, which I find very fun and entertaining.
Okay.
And I found these groups to be so resourceful. I also am part of it's a Bay Area real estate residential property group that pay a fee. I pay $300 for membership. They have a magazine. They have a resource center. And even though I do have a property manager, which I highly recommend, I want to be well informed on what's going on in the market and the new rules. So I do pay those type of groups for. I do pay a membership fee. And they have meetings every month. And they talk about what's going on because our regulatory landscape is changing. The election's coming up, and there's a proposition that makes it harder for landlords and kind of wants to protect homeless and housing. So like understanding those issues and like where I stand as an individual versus where I stand as a landlord and what that means for me. Because I had to evict a tenant and it took almost a year. And that's very common in Oakland. Like you would have someone just not paying rent and they could be at fault and there'd be no issue and it still takes a year. And like those type of losses, like I have to like pick a line on what side I'm going to be on because it's really puts landlords in a difficult position.
Yeah, yeah. And we had someone on talking about insurance too. So there, and I had a property manager on, and he was talking about landlord's insurance, which I didn't know about as a landlord. I was like, oh, I need to check that out because when you're experiencing loss of rent, you need something that's gonna offset that part of it as
Yeah,
well. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and I think people watch HGTV and they think,
right.
oh, I could do that, or oh, I can make it look like that, and it's easy, and it's not. Um, it's not the easiest thing, but it is, I would say, very rewarding once you get through the process, and it's very doable. It is doable.
Yeah,
It's not something that's out of reach if you have the vision and, as you say, surround yourself with people who, can give you good advice, and give you good information. So I think,
yeah.
part of the group is a phenomenal thing. I'm looking at your tag, she's, hers, BLXVC. Talk a little bit about that. What do you
Yeah.
call it?
So yeah, I try to be inclusive as possible and state my pronouns. So people know how I identify. BLXVC, it stands for Black and Latinx, and it's a venture fund focused on women of color that I particularly care about. And I'm trying to really invest in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship. So if you look at my segment is Black women. So essentially 0.0006% of Black women get funding in venture today.
Yeah.
The average Black woman entrepreneur makes $26,000. The average net worth of a single Black woman is $5. These issues are very personal to me. And so part of what I'm trying to do with Black Latinx Venture Fund is like invest in these women who want to build a scalable business. And like, how do we build wealth? So essentially, I am an investor. So I am an angel investor. I'm accredited. And to find people who look like me who have accredited status, right? So until we build wealth for ourselves, for our community, so that we could be investors and reinvest in ourselves, that's what's going to turn the needle. I mean, COVID is trying to take us out in so many ways. And so I've just recommitted to like, this is who I want to support. And, this is what I want to pull capital for. So I'm making bets on the women of color to be like the future industry leaders and like to take us to the next level.
Indeed. That is so phenomenal because one, that's what Financial Fridays is about. It's about, building our wealth now,
Yeah,
so we can have it in the future, just that whole wealth and legacy and giving people information, education, resources and tips. This is just awesome. And I think it's phenomenal that you are, reaching out, that you found your niche,
mm,
and that
yeah,
your niche includes Black women because we are idea creators. We're incubators,
exactly.
we birth ideas and we help our men birth their ideas, and move them forward. And I think Black women don't always get the credit that they deserve for, um,
Mm,
what we do to make this world such a great place. So
exactly.
to have BLXVC
Mm,
as a resource, focusing on, Black women in particular who are entrepreneurial is phenomenal. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. So, is there anything else that you would like to share or any other thoughts?
I mean, for first time investors, just encouraging you to get in the game. I'm a single parent. I know it's not easy depending on your background or circumstance. Um, but the freedom that you can get or obtain, you know, um, the upside is high. And real estate is like foundational to this country. We have a president who made his wealth off of real estate and manipulating real estate laws and taxes. And like, it's a way. And most people who are wealthy, real estate is a big part of their portfolio. Like, that's just how wealth works in this country. So, and because our African American home ownership is decreasing, it's we gotta turn the tides. So I know it can be scary, but like we have to thrive. Everything that's happened in real estate. I mean, not everything, but a lot has happened to me. I've had 2 lawsuits. I had like all that, and I still would do it again, because the upside is so advantageous. So just persevere and get into it.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, so you said something that clicked for me. So right now, I think we're at 44% homeownership for African Americans, and we are ticking up slowly, but at our highest point, we were only about 47, 49%
Mm,
um, home ownership rate. So we're still below our counterparts that are at like 70, in the 70th percentile, like 7 out of 10, and we're still at 4 out of 10 African Americans who own their homes. So, or who own property. Let's just put it that way.
wow. I'm fearful when we get the COVID report that number is going to go down. That's my concern because we've lost employment and jobs. And
Yeah. Well, we are. I belong to the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and I am a board member for our Southern New Jersey chapter.
Mhm.
And we have like our president on the national level has 8 initiatives, and we've been ticking up actually. So we
Oh,
went from
great.
42, we're now at 44%, and we're also targeting millennials because
Mhm.
there are like 1.7 million millennials who make over $100,000 a year and they don't own property. So
Yeah,
we are specifically targeting that group to look at real estate not as a ball and chain or something you do once you get married, where you
right.
settle down and buy a house, but more as something that as an investment tool, as you're talking
Mhm.
about, real estate is an investment tool. And if you do it when you're younger, we had a young man on. There's 2 other broadcasts that we have targeted specifically for millennials that I host.
Mhm.
And there's a gentleman on, and he's like 23, purchased his first home. There was another young lady in her 20s as well, but she's house hacking. She started out house hacking and
Mhm.
first with roommates and then doing Airbnb. So there's just so many things that young people can do. Uh, and if you figure we did it at 20, and by the time, because I got my first property in my 20s, praise God, and that
Yes.
allowed me to do so much that I'm doing now because leverage, just being able to leverage the equity in those properties. So I think people hopefully will get that real estate is a value asset. It's a value asset no matter where the market is. It continues to
Right.
grow over time because people always need a place to call home, to have a roof over their head, whether it's, you're that landlord or,
Right.
you live in
I'm,
that property.
I'm glad you said that because people try to wait out the market. And it's like, just go.
Yeah, get
Don't
in
wait
where
out the
you fit
market.
in. Whenever you can afford, purchase it. And wherever you can afford to purchase
Right.
it, whether it's in your town or out of your town, depending on your risk level. So it's really, really, really important for people to understand that they can, in fact, invest in real estate and invest in their future. So
Yeah.
how can people stay in contact with you if they want to reach out to you around what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm everywhere. So I have my venture site is BLXVC.com. I also have LishaBell.com. Also on Twitter at Bellism, B as in boy, E, 3 L's, ISM. I'm most popular on LinkedIn. That's where I do all my professional posts. So I'm just Lisha Bell on LinkedIn. So check me out there. And if you want to follow my hobby activities, I garden and I juice. So I'm on Instagram at Rooted Cali. So that's all the ways to find me. But if you go to my site, it's all there.
Yes, she has a beautiful garden. I love her garden. And you're juicing because I've been vegan
I
since
know. I
January.
have so many vegan followers. I love the support, but it's a great way to get those nutrients into your body.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. So I just appreciate you, Lisha, for joining us today on Financial Fridays, and for all of you who were watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. Definitely share this video. Know that you can, in fact, be an investor. That you can invest in real estate. So remember to like, share, and subscribe on Facebook and also on YouTube. I just want to thank you for watching today. Financial Fridays is here to provide you with resources, information, tips, and trends that impact your bottom line. And we hope that you receive something of value today. Sending love and prayers out to anyone who's impacted by the pandemic. If you are physically distancing, if you have loved ones that you can't see in the hospital, for all of our essential employees who are just laying down for us, our
Thank you.
food, police, fire protection, and especially our leadership. Prayer about
Please.
everybody. Yes. Just encourage you to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and stay safe. My name is Clara Lyons-DeVaughn. Financial Fridays, we stream live on Facebook and YouTube on Fridays, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So, Lisha, thank you for getting up early to hang out with us today.
Anything for you, Soror. You asked me to do it. I'm showing up.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So everybody, until then, just keep living your best life.
Yes. Yes.
Love you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Thank you.